How did you first get interested in show business? Are you from a show business family?
Yeah, there were never professionals in my family, but they were all good amateurs. They could have been professionals if they'd really taken the plunge. They were afraid to take the plunge because one or two of them, my uncles, good musicians and also entertainers. You see, they had a sort of an amateur show band which became very popular later. They were one of the first that I ever knew of where they played for dancing as well as entertained you see. And this went on for a long time. And they got this opportunity to go sort of professional, and one or two of them got cold feet, and they didn't go. And the particular slot was filled by a chap called Billy Cotton. So, I mean, they've been kicking themselves ever since.
Yes, I bet.
And when I showed a little bit of talent, and it looked like it might work out for me, then they were all behind me and they said, go and do it, because I was young enough, you see. And that was that. So I went out and had a go. But I was song and dance, really, at the time. And the only reason that they sent me for dancing lessons was because I was supposed to be a little weakling. You know, these little lads that walks about with sparrow knees, where there's nothing but a little bulge at the knee, and then it's like two needles. And they all thought that I was weak, when in fact I was wiry, I should imagine, in reflection. But I was winning the cross-country run, but they still thought that I was weak because I hadn't got muscles. I mean, the legs were working all right, and because they knew nothing about bionics then, you see. That was one of the first, but I kept it a secret.
And this was at what age?
Well, when I started going for tap dancing lessons, I was about 8. But I'd got one of these voices like young Jimmy Osmond, you know, the little one of the Osmonds, one of these metallic tenor voices, and I used to sing as well. And my mother used to roll up we had stone floors then. It wasn't brick or wood or anything, the real stone slabs.
Yes.
And she used to roll up the lino. And then I used to have clogs, you see. We used to wear clogs around Huddersfield because of the mining and everything, and they were very popular. The more noise you could make, that was the thing. I didn't want to know about shoes, you know. I said, I'm not having shoes, everybody else has clogs, what's up with clogs, you see. Immediately, if you want a translation of that, means what's the matter with clogs? What's up with clogs means what's the matter with them. And so, of course, I had to have these clogs as well. And I did a bit of stupid hysterical tap dancing for the relations, you see, whenever they came, and it was my turn to do a party piece. Up came the lino, the rug first that they'd made themselves, you know, when you cut bits. I don't know if you've ever seen these rugs, you must have, where you cut bits of material, and then you work them in with a needle, and they're not wool rugs at all. They're like
patchwork quilt.
Well, yeah, but it's not a patchwork quilt either. You cut these strips of material from suits and any old material, and you make them into a rug.
Yeah.
And that was the rug that we used to have anyway. You make it on a sort of a loom in the house. Everybody sits round and tells stories. No television in those days, you see. Not even colour radio, and so that was the thing. That came up first. Then the lino, because they didn't want the lino scratching. And then we were on the bare flags. They call them flags. Can you imagine? Flagstones, yeah. And I used to do me tap dancing, me clog dancing there, you see. And it was terrible. I'd never been for lessons or anything, but they thought, he's definitely got it, you know. I think he's got a gift. and they sent me off to these tap dancing lessons. And all that did was teach me how to fight. Because all my pals at school used to say, are you going to your tap dancing lesson? You see, do you have to wear a frock? You know, and all that business. So, of course, I had to prove that I was still a young fella and I'd fight them all. So it did quite well, actually. Tap dancing lessons made me into quite a good fighter.
Yeah, it must have been tough for you, though, in those days. Coming from that particular area, I mean, show business wasn't a thing that it is nowadays.
No.
You were going into a sissy's.
In a sense, yes. It was the sissy bit, and yet I hated that. You know, I'd fight anybody who said I was a sissy. I'd get stuck straight, and I was wearing glasses at the time because I couldn't see, and they didn't find out that till I was 7. You know, They didn't realise I'd got bad eyesight. I could see through my mother's glasses eventually when we found out that I couldn't see. But you see, when you're a kid and you've never seen properly, you don't know that other people can see properly. You think this is it. A blurred world was what everybody was putting up with, you see. And so at school, when the teacher, I remember one time she used to have one of these clocks where she could move the fingers round and say, what time is it now, you see, so teaching us to tell the time. And of course I couldn't even see the clock. Now I didn't know that the others could, you see. I had no idea that the others could see it. And so I thought, oh, they are half clever, this lot, round me, you see. And I was a dunce, I was a twit. Because she said, what time is it now? And I said, you see, and you'll never learn. What she didn't realise was that I couldn't see it. No idea. But eventually, when I was 7 years old, it became compulsory for somebody to come round and test everybody's eyes. As well as, that was the first time that dentists turned up at school. And this was all compulsory as well. And of course, this fellow, he hit every wall when he heard it, when he saw what my eyes were like. He was ranting and raving and banging his head and everything. You know? In fact, he finished up worse than me. And then, of course, they sent me off for these glasses. And I'll never forget the first day I came out wearing these glasses, because it opened up a whole new world to me. I didn't believe it. You suddenly saw that there were clocks on church spires. You know, I'd never known there were clocks on church spires. A church spire was just something that looked different than the sky, that's all. And then you found out that all these things that were sort of colourful, in a sense, were adverts on big billboards, and you could see what it was. Suddenly, oh, that's what it is, Ovaltine, and all that kind of stuff going on. And I'd never realised all this. And of course I could see the bus. I could see which was my bus from miles away. I used to have to ask them, is this mine? Is this my bus? And I could see it a mile off. I never used to have to ask anymore. It was a magic world suddenly opened up once I was 7. Yeah.
How long did it take you to learn?
Well, I taught myself everything. I went for a few tap dancing lessons, as I told you. And the rest of it I picked up myself during my spare time when I was in the shows. I used to go in, rather than go and have coffee and start talking about all the rest of the profession and ribbing everybody. I used to go and practice. And I think that really is the way. I used to meet up with some other people who were dedicated. I used to practice my tap dancing, you see, and you'd suddenly find that there was a chap in the dressing room practicing the guitar. And so you get together and I'd learn a little bit of his guitar, and perhaps he might say, how do you do that tap dancing? And I'd show him a bit of that, you see. And so I picked up the basics of lots and lots of things without following anything through to its nth degree. I never actually took anything up with the idea of being an impresario. What do you call virtuoso? That's right. I'd like to be an impresario because you sit back and watch everybody else do it, yes. But I'm not virtuoso in anything, really. But I do consider that I can put on a reasonable entertainment, which embraces all of these things.
Reasonable, I would think, is not quite the right word.
Well, it fits. Yeah.
It fits the Roy Castle image. As you do, always come across very modest. Has this business where you've always been a jack of all trades, without necessarily being recognised as the master of any one, has this ever been
a drawback?
To you?
Well, it's not really, no. It all depends whether you're willing to sit on your own horse and stay on your own horse. If you keep changing horses because of somebody's opinion. But you see, the only person who's really, really, really involved with me is me. So I consider it much deeper than anybody else. So you suddenly get one guy in a newspaper who says, yeah, jack of all trades, master of none, won't get anywhere, ha ha ha. Right, now he's now got to start talking about somebody else in 5 minutes' time. He's got to write up somebody else tomorrow. So I mean that's his, what you call veneered opinion of what I do. It doesn't go very deep. It's a tiny. It's a quick impression. It's an instant comment, which I'm prepared to accept from anybody apart from myself. Now, my comment's got to be very deep because it's my life that's at stake. My whole career, the way I'm going to pay my bills, the way I'm going to live my life. And I've had a good look at it, you see. And there's an awful lot of people who. I'm not generalizing again, because some people have in fact carried one particular thing a long, long way, and good luck to them, but they are brilliant. They really are brilliant. Some people, in order to keep this going, have had to travel abroad a lot and traipse their wares all over the world, because you can only sort of do it in this country for a little while before people get bored with it, no matter how good it is.
Yeah.
If it's the same thing again and again and again, they're going to get bored with it, and it can be the best, but you still can't eat caviar every meal, can you? You see, so that the appetite of the public is that they like a lot of different tastes all the time. So you get people who suddenly are a great hit, and they are magnificent and hailed as the bee's knees, and so that's fine. I applaud that, but I worry for these people, because I know that although they really are the best, you just can't keep trotting it out to the public all the time. You've got to go around the world now to do it. Now, I've got 4 children, and I love them dearly, and I mean, they have to go to schools. I realized as soon as they became school age that the handcuffs were on, and there was the big chain and ball and chain on the foot, and I was going to have to stick around the family. And I'm quite delighted about the fact that I can, in fact, change my act so that nobody knows what I'm going to do. There's no idea what it's going to be. I mean, they must eventually find out that I've considered what I'm going to do, and that at least it's going to be worth looking at. And it's not going to be just a fellow mucking about doing anything. I mean, it is considered,
yes.
And it's considered from an entertainment point of view. And it's beginning to work better and better now. And so I'm so pleased that I didn't change horses. I don't want to sort of sound big time, but a lot of the things that I do in my own particular field are nearly as good as the people who only do that. You know what I mean? Tap dancing. I'm not frightened of any tap dancer in the world, you see, because I can do anything that any tap dancer in the world can do. So I'm not frightened of those. Now, there's some better trumpet players a lot better than me. There's also people earning living just by playing trumpet who aren't as good as I am, you know. Not really, but there you go. And then the singing has never really taken off. But so I think perhaps I'm being looked after. There's some force that's looking after me, and it's making sure that I'm happy in every way. I've got a lovely family, and I've got a nice career that I'm reasonably proud of. You know, I mean, I've got shortcomings like everybody else, but I'm reasonably proud of what's happened, and I'm very pleased with my setup with the kids and everything. Yeah.
Roy, you're incredibly versatile. There's no doubting that. I don't think anybody would disagree. They may doubt
whether it's a good idea or not.
Whether it's a good idea.
Sure.
You've done radio, television, everything. And I was listening to your mate Eli.
Oh, yes, our Eli. He's a lovely character. I worked with him for 2 years with Jimmy James when we were the Two Stooges. Mm-hmm. Jimmy James was in the middle. I was one side and our Eli was the other. And he is actually Jimmy James's nephew.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah.
He's a fantastic character.
Oh, he's a marvellous character. Yeah, I like him.
Anyway, I wasn't going to talk about Eli. I was in passing. Having done so much, you've experienced so much, is there anything left that would give you a whole lot of satisfaction aside from singing?
Yes. Well, it's just about to. I'm just about to have a go at it. I'm going into the Drury Lane, Theatre Royal Drury Lane, to take over Billy from Michael Crawford.
Really?
Yeah. And this is something I've always wanted to do. In fact, for many years, I feel that is the one particular opening that particular door never opened for me, and it's the obvious one, really, is the musical, because of the singing and the dancing and the sort of comedy and acting sort of stuff. And so that's coming up. That's coming up in May. I'm taking over from Michael in May, and if with any luck at all, I mean, if it still is a good show, because he's something to follow. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a magic man. He's one of the people that you don't believe because he does everything himself. Does all his stunts, you know.
He's
well.
an incredible character.
Oh yeah.
A most unlikely one as well.
Oh, he's a great one. You've got to look a long way. He's in the Anthony Newley class and all that, you know. And these are the people that I really do. I really do think are the great parts of show business. But he's done 2 years, and he more or less did it like a year beforehand, you know, in order to create the part and take it on tour and everything. So I'm going to step in now to what you call very warm shoes, and see if I can keep it going. But it appears to be the perfect show for me, because it's about a Yorkshire lad who has these dreams, becomes a dancer. And I mean, I could even bring the trumpet playing in and things like that, because Billy Lyer is like the English version of Walter Mitty. Whatever he thinks of, he can do, and it suddenly goes off at all these tangents, and it's a marvellous part for me.
Better luck in Billy Lyer.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
When's that due?
Well, May 3rd. Keep your fingers crossed for me on May 3rd.
May 3rd.
That would be very nice, because I'm going to need a lot of help, you know.
Right. I will try and be there.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you very much indeed, Roy, for all your time.
Thank you. Cheers.